Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor and we're back with another one of our 24/7 news report videos. As always, we start with our headline news, and if you're watching this by now, you'll probably know that our biggest headline news is that Nathan Patterson has signed with Everton. The right back has joined the club as of today. We do have a full transfer reaction video and a scout report video out, and all will be out shortly, so give them a watch. They should be very good, especially the scout one, get a little bit of insight into him. From what I've been reading up, he sounds okay. The price 12 million is being floated. He's young, 22, so if it doesn't work out, you'd hope we'd be able to recoup some of that. You know, he's not 29, 30, where if it doesn't work out, he's going to run his contract down at the club. There's enough there. He's young enough that someone else, if he's not good enough, will take him. Hopefully he is good enough, obviously. And from what I've read, at 22, there are some promising signs there. Apparently he's very good at playing 1-2s with a winger, pass and move. He's a very athletic player. Apparently he can run for days. The only negative I've seen of him in a report that I read, this was mainly him going forward. It didn't say a lot about him defensively, which is a little bit weird, bearing in mind he's a fullback. But they said going forward he's good. The only criticism is that he won't try and beat his man, and they reckon that might be because of his physical stature. He's quite a small, thin-looking lad. He's not a broad-shouldered, stocky type of fella, or look like he's got a lot of strength behind him. But that might change, and that is something that could change when he hits the gym. That's more, you can train that into him, especially beating his man. That could be something that's trained into him, so I won't worry about that. But yeah, I'm holding out full opinions until I've seen him play in an Everton top a couple of times. But it's a right back, and that's something we've been dying out for the last 5-6 seasons, so it's nice to see that. And thank God poor Seamus Coleman will be counting his blessings. He doesn't have to keep chasing the likes of Mo Salah or Ismail Sarr down the wings for the next season. And hopefully that's another thing. It means that Coleman can now go a step back a bit, become a bit more of a mentor to the lad. Because although his showing in the last 2 seasons hasn't been brilliant, and I personally think he's been left to hang out to dry. Coleman was at his peak 2008, 9, 10. One of the best fullbacks. The United were linked with him. We've got to remember all the stuff he's done for the club, not the last 2 seasons, and he's been phenomenal for the club. And hopefully he can mentor Patterson, and if he's half as good as Coleman was in his peak, he'll do the job perfectly. So obviously we hope that that's what happens, and I'm sure that if Coleman is captain as well, that is what will happen. He'll take him under his wing and mentor him a little bit. We also have the news that Digne has had pre-agreement with Chelsea. Everton were asking around 25 million. The two teams continue to talk. This has come from Pedro Almeida. He's a Portuguese specialist with insider knowledge. Again, take stuff like this when they're inside the knowledge or in the know. Take that with a pinch of salt. But he is verified, and he's a verified journalist. It's not some anonymous account on Twitter that we dragged that off. It's a journalist. But again, when they say they're in the know, there's always that pinch of salt that they might not always be in the know. It is worth pointing out Digne has had a lot of interest from other clubs. West Ham are weighing in a move for Digne, according to the Daily Mail. David Moyes is in for a new left back this January, and obviously Digne looks like he's going to be sold for as cheap as chips. So why wouldn't David Moyes be interested in that? And David Moyes probably looks at him and thinks, decent delivery, he'll do. Antonio's a big lad, got a good head on him. Aiming up for Antonio. It's about getting as many balls into that box, quality balls into Antonio as possible, probably for Moyes, which makes it even more mind-blowing that we're getting rid of him and for so cheap when we've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But apparently we don't want quality balls into him. My opinion, you might disagree, but I think it's silly. Digne is also on Newcastle United's wish list along with Mason Holgate. That's come from the Telegraph. For me, Digne, unless it's a good price, and 25 million is not a good price, I wouldn't sell him. I actually really like him, and I think he's much needed. A prime example was Brighton playing a fullback, Seamus Coleman, on the left hand side, just because you don't want to play Digne. is one of the worst managerial decisions I've seen in a long time. It's cutting your nose off to spite your face, in my opinion, and it was silly. Mason Holgate, on the other hand, get rid. He's been at the club a couple of years now, and he's still making the same rash decisions. He did look a little bit better last year under Carlo in the free back, but alas, he's gone back to his old self. Rash decisions. A couple of the tackles I've seen him put in this season, they're a bit scary. He's lucky not to have been sent off a couple of times. It seems really rash decision making by him. Inter Milan have also cooled their interest in Digne. Everton are not interested in loaning out the left back or swapping him for any Inter Milan players. That's come from Lyle Thomas of Sky Sports. I don't like the idea of loaning him out anyway. I think that's sillier. Well, as silly as selling him for 25 million, a mere 6 million on 7 million on what we bought him for. And he's 28. This is the peak of his career. Whoever buys him now is going to have 3 good years of Luca Digne at his peak before the decline. And it's silly we're letting him go for only 6-7 million more than we bought him for. But I don't agree with loaning him out either. The only way I'd do that is, in an ideal world, is if you loaned him out, no option to buy. He had a really good campaign, and either the manager situation changes and we take him back, or he has that good of a campaign that teams start throwing big, serious, proper amounts of money at him, and I don't think that's going to happen. As for the Inter Milan players to swap, I mean, I don't think it means Everton don't want any Inter Milan players, because I'm sure there's a couple of players on the books that I'd like us to have. I think it just means that Inter Milan probably, we're not interested in the players Inter Milan are looking to ship on. Good, because if Inter Milan aren't looking to, that means we could have I think that's best to avoid. It's not like they're offering us Lautaro Martinez, is it? Who had taken a heartbeat, or someone else of that stature. Inter, they're offering Inter's bits and bobs and drags. We also have some more news on Mason Holgate, and according to Footy Insider 24/7, Burnley have also been interested in him, and Everton are willing to listen to offers this month. Yeah, again, I think it's time for Mason Holgate to go. I think he's had enough time at the club, had a little bit of a bright spell last season, and I was reverted back to it's just the rash decision making for me. I think there was a good player there. I mean, maybe there still is. He's only 25, but sometimes I watch him and the tackles he goes in for are nothing short of dangerous. Sometimes, and his awareness, his defensive awareness, he sometimes is caught napping a little bit, but you could say that for a lot of the team at the minute, but for me, I think he's had his chance, and I think we've been patient with him. It's probably time to move him on now, and if we could get 10 million for him to 15, that would be, for me personally, quite good business. We also have the news now from Matt Law, DT, who's the Daily Telegraph journalist, that Chelsea are currently looking into the potential of signing Digne on loan as a cover for the injured Chilwell. Again, like I said, the only reason I'd like it on loan is that maybe he has a good season, he comes back and the manager situation is either better, aka Rafa Benitez has got over this, and Digne have got over this spat and worked it out for the best of the club and the team, or the manager's changed, which is the one I personally would prefer, and there's a manager now that values Digne and is going to play a style that suits him and it makes him happy, or that Chelsea get him on loan, no option to buy, go, God, he's really, really good, how much? And we go, well, he's had a really good season with you, 35 to 40 million please. And if they're willing to pay that, he'll be 29 then, I'd say cash in while it's hot. But if we give him an option of 25 million to buy and he has a really good season with the European champions, by the way, then that looks silly. And I know people will say, oh, he's not been good for the last 3 years. If that was the case, the champions of Europe wouldn't be looking at Luca Digne if he hadn't been good for the last 3 years, or he'd been as rubbish as people keep saying. He's a very good left back, and I think it's only once he leaves and we're going to watch other people trying to go that role that we're going to go, yeah, Luca Digne was actually quite good. Especially if he starts tearing it up at Chelsea. I mean, I don't know if they'll have Romelu Lukaku to aim at by then, because, well, his Inter Milan sort of interview has caused all sorts of problems there. But I just think if the champions of Europe are interested in him, he can't be a player that's not had a good season since he joined us. Moving on though, we have got some transfer rumours of us buying players instead of selling. Rumoured Everton target Omar Colley wants to switch from Sampdoria to the Premier League, according to reports in Italy and according to Italian outlet Club Doria 46. It claims the Gambian international has already switched agents in a bid to make that move happen. There are a handful of teams interested in the 29-year-old, including Everton, Newcastle, Leeds and Watford. Don't know an awful lot about the lad. Obviously he's 29, which makes me a little bit nervous. Obviously he's looking at this as his last chance to get a Premier League move. I don't know if this goes wrong. There's not a brilliant resale value on that. And the Italian league is a little bit different to the English Premier League. He's going to have to adjust. He'll be like 31, 30 by the time he probably properly adjusts to Premier League. And I don't think Sampdoria will be willing to sell him for cheap. I mean, the price depends, obviously, which a lot of transfers is the same. Next, we have another link with an Italian club's player. Aaron Ramsey is personally negotiating his Juventus exit, according to reports in Italy. Outlet Sport Mediest has said that the midfielder hasn't trained with the team for some time and is looking for a move away. The reports listed Newcastle and Villa as potential suitors. He has been linked with Everton for the last few seasons and rumours have intensified over the last few months. The Echo reported in November though that Rafa Benitez was not considering a January swoop for Ramsey and he wasn't actively being discussed at the time. If you've watched these videos very often and regularly, you'll know my opinions on Aaron Ramsey. Don't touch it with a barge pole. Let Newcastle do it. Let them make the same mistakes we made when we got money and not learn from them, and just let us move into a different direction now, because buying players like Ramsey and of that ilk hasn't proved to be the way forward for us. I will say this, it's unfortunate that Mykolenko's arrival looks to be the end of Digne. That's the sourest part of that. But signing Mykolenko at the age of like 22 and Patterson as well. Mykolenko I think we might have slightly overpaid for, but Patterson for 12 million that's pretty safe. Like I said, if it doesn't work out, we can get some money back on that. But the fact that they're young lads that look to be runners and look to be of that sort of style of play where they put in the grind, they put a shift in, and so importantly that they're 22 years old, I'm a big fan of. I come on all the time and say don't sign players that are 30, 29, 31, 33. So I'd be a hypocrite to then when we sign younger players go, they're rubbish. The only problem is Mykolenko looks like Digne's out, and that is sour for me. The only other one as well is that they come from leagues that are quite a lot further down. No offence to the Scottish fans of the Scottish league or the Ukrainians. It's the the quality in the Premier League to those leagues is massive gaps, but they're young, they will develop, they are two very well rated players, and from the scout reports that I've read and the video we did on Mykolenko, I like the sound of them. So more of that Everton please, more of younger players with a bit of fight, a bit of determination and something to prove, and not 30-year-olds looking for their last payday. That is everything I've got time for though. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and comment down below on all the stuff I've mentioned today. Are you sad to see Luca Digne go? Are you shocked that teams that are coming in have got such good quality teams? Do you think he'd suit West Ham or Chelsea more? Would you take Omar Colley? Would you take Aaron Ramsey? And let us know your thoughts on Patterson and obviously Mykolenko, but more Patterson because that's today's signing. Do you like the look of him? Have any of you seen him play? If so, let me know again. Like I said, I read a scout report done on Twitter, so it's a Twitter scout. It's not it's not Steve Walsh or actual Premier League scouts, but it was a very well written report, and it was interesting. Like I said, didn't mention much about his defensive game, but going forward, he sounded quite good. Sounded a bit Seamus Coleman-esque, so hopefully that mentoring will work. And don't forget, most importantly, guys, to stay safe.